Welcome to the Cougar Land podcast, and we are back with my classmate, Claudia Levin, otherwise known as Claudia Vann previously before she got married. Nice to see you, Claudia.
Good to see you too.
Feels like we're on a TV show the way with the formal introduction, of course. You're like, okay, what's my script now, right?
I know, I'm like, oh, I'm a little nervous.
Don't be. I mean, the thing is, we've all been through the same thing. It's like whether you remember a specific time, like, oh, I remember my favorite lunch pail in Vicenza, or, you know, going to the playground or eating pizza at Mario's. It's really not what it is. It's more about we're a group of people that lived overseas, and our high schools all over the place. We're not from one town in, let's say, like you were saying earlier, Tennessee. Yeah, we went to McClintock High School. We all live in the same town, and two guys left. One became an actor. One gal went over and went to school in another state and stayed there and became a lawyer. I mean, it's just, you know, we're global. It's a very bizarre thing.
It is really bizarre. When I first moved to the U.S., it always surprised me when I met people that had never been out of the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because, I mean, living in Italy, we traveled everywhere.
Oh, yeah. And when you tell people stories, it's a common thing that we say, that they're like, you never did that. Because it's so far-fetched, because they're thinking that only millionaires or lottery winners travel to Paris or to Switzerland or to whatever. I mean, that's the only people from their local town that did those kind of things. So they're like, well, you're working at the same job as me. How could you ever do that? But we had a home base in the middle of culture and a place where people go to experience the world. They go see everything, right?
Right.
What years were you there again? What were your years?
I graduated in '86. So, okay, so I was there from 1st through 6th grade. Then I came back to the U.S. and my dad was stationed in Colorado for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went back and I was there for all of high school, and then I graduated in '86. I think we were in the same graduating class, weren't we?
We were. I just didn't graduate. I was out drinking wild turkey in Bellagio. But I'm proud of that, because it never held me back, because I was able to become the mouse at Chuck E. Cheese and really carve out a career.
There you go.
I'm messing with you. But yeah, that would have been great. And now I'm admitting my high-level profession acquired from such great schooling. So was it culture shock for you coming back after so many years in Italy? Because you had a fair amount of time, just like me. I mean, just a little 2 years cutting out. So you did most of the years there. We had a lot of same teachers.
Well, okay, so my mom was Italian. She was born and raised in Vicenza.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my family there, and so I had, you know, my friends at the American school, but I also had a lot of friends on the economy. And so I just kind of, the summer before I moved back to the U.S., I spent the whole summer speaking only Italian. And then my parents took me from Vicenza and they plopped me in Durango, Colorado, which is a cow town. It's a very, 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 very small town in Colorado. And, you know, cowboy boots and the hats were considered a fashion statement.
Yeah, you're like, what happened to Benetton? What's going on?
What happened to Sicily? What happened to Benetton? What happened to, you know, spending all of my money that I worked with, you know, as a lifeguard during the summer to go shopping so that I would have all the nice clothes and all the fashions in Italy.
Yeah, we all did that because it was a little bit more than our parents wanted to spend. And, you know, what you bought on post, you get lucky here and there. It was kind of hit or miss. It was almost like shopping at Ross. If you were shopping at the PX, right?
Yeah.
Like, here's a 3-year-old style of X. And I think the only thing of, you know, because we were all getting aware of that, like, oh, this is what the cool kids are wearing. We'll get some Ralph Lauren, or we'll get some whatever designer jeans or whatever was in. But usually we were getting the second or third generation. So if we're rocking it in Italy, someone comes from the States and they're like, oh, this is what you haven't figured out yet.
Oh, I know.
Right? But
so, okay, Colorado was a huge culture shock. In fact, I think I got straight A's my first semester because I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, and people, so if I drank anything, I would stop speaking English. Do you know what I mean? I had spent so much time the summer before only speaking Italian that my brain was kind of turned on towards Italian. And so here I come to this place. First time I got drunk, I stopped speaking English.
That's funny.
That was, I got teased about it for like the rest of the year.
That full immersion experience, your brain does lock onto a language I went to Spain with my wife, and I told her, I said, I can speak Spanish. She's like, you never studied? I go, I just can. It's a decoder device. I got this decoding device I grew up with on languages, prefixes, suffixes, Latin, the base, right? Now, I can't go tear French up that quickly. I grew up in Germany a couple years, so I learned it when I was very little, then I forgot it, right? So, but if I'm there a week or, two, I'm like, was ist los, wie geht's? Zwei Hamburger bitte. It's like it just comes out, but that was only for a couple of years. And
Right.
then I came here, I found Italian friends. And it's funny because we went to Spain and I'm speaking, Catalonian, which is a different kind than other regions as well. It's like, oh, it's like the Vincentino accent versus Napolitano. They're really different,
I know
right?
they are.
And I'm like, well, I like this one, but the other Spaniards are like, it's hard. I'm like, no, 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 it's easy. I think I just understand it. And go ahead.
Yeah, no, I do know because we live in Tucson. And we're an hour away from the border with Mexico, so there's a lot of people that speak Spanish here.
Yeah.
So I've found a few friends here in Tucson that speak Italian, but mostly I just speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And it is a completely different Spanish from Spanish in Spain.
Yeah, different than the Castilian Spanish. That's where I learned my Spanish. It was more of a Mexican dialect in California. Right. And I didn't even practice. And then I just started talking to them. I'm like, somebody told me that Filipino was like Spanish. And I was listening to it, I go, no, I don't know. But maybe underneath every eighth word, there's a little bit of it. But I was having, it wasn't like when you hear Spanish the first time as an Italian speaker, you understand 70%, then you understand 80, 90, then you start graduating, then you start mixing it up, and you got it like, hola, ¿qué pasó? ¿Cómo estás? Todo también? Yeah, sí. You're right. Like, wow. It's like, then you go speak Italian. So I came back from Spain and I'm talking to my Italian friend, Tony, and I'm like mixing the two languages. I could not unhinge them from each other. Took a while to get back to Italian.
Done that before. I've done that before. Yep, I have. We went to Costa Rica 2 years ago for my 50th birthday, and I spoke Spanish the whole time I was there, and I was fine. The guides really didn't even need to speak to us in English. My husband was trying to learn some Spanish. The last 3 days we were there, we stayed at this one place where one of the waiters was from Venice.
Yeah.
And he started speaking to me in Italian, and that was it. I was done. I couldn't speak Spanish again for the rest of the time I was there.
Isn't that weird? We have this decoder. Like if I talk with Cubans and Colombians, I can get down. I can fly in that language after a couple of drinks and just absorbing, like you let it come into your head. Right. And then the coding thing sets its dials to the language and you're like, boom. And you pick up the rhythm and it's there. And it's amazing.
It's interesting that you talk about it as coding.
Right.
Because
I did codes in the military. So yeah, of course.
So I have worked with refugees from the Middle East for a number of years here in Tucson. And I've picked up some Arabic just because my brain decodes stuff. And I had never thought of it that way until talking to you.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, and it wasn't actually that hard for me.
Well, we went on a teen club trip to Greece, and I snuck away from the group, and I was drinking ouzo with the locals at some little farmhouse bar that was like, they were doing the cool formal dinner and all that. And I snuck out, and I'm like, I'm going to go party a little bit because I can't order any drinks here. So I snuck out, and I'm out there talking to the Greek people, and they understood me, and I understood them. And I don't know what it was. I was just like, oh, it's a little bit of this, that, the center of the world with the language before it develops, I'm getting it. So it's the sub-language of the sub-language. And that's kind of how it came together. But,
and also living in Italy, people don't talk with just their words. They talk with their whole body.
Yep.
You know what I mean? With their hands and their face and everything else. And so I think that we learned to look at the whole person. I mean, if you can't tell, I still talk with my hands.
CCC.
Yeah,
I have my puppets. I brought my hand puppets for translation.
Yeah, my hand puppets.
No, we're Tony Robbins disciples, and then you will be successful. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my gosh, I get teased all the time that if I sat on my hands, I wouldn't be able to talk.
Motivational speaker Claudia Vann. Here we go.
There you go. Yep.
So, have you been back to Italy since? Have you gone back with your husband and your family, or has it been a while? Or what?
We took so I have two kids, a 23-year-old. And who's married, and I have a grandson too.
Nice.
Yes, who is he'll be 7 months old next month. This month, his name's Arlo. And then I have an older one who's he'll be 29 in August. And we took them because I started young.
Mm-hmm.
We took them back to Italy when they were, well, Sean was 15, so Daniel would have been 10. And then we didn't go back for the longest time. And then we've been for the past 3 years, every year we've gone.
Nice. What areas do you like to hit up? Do you go back to Vicenza, or do you go, it's because it's a small little pit stop. Once you're grown up and you have a car, as my brother Sean said, you're in and out of there one side to the other in 15 minutes. But when you were a kid walking it because you missed the number 1 bus or the number 3 bus, it seemed like 100 miles. But as you grew, and you're like, like the North 40 seemed like an endless plan, a field of forever. But now you look and you're like, now it's the North 3, not even an acre left. The North 500 yards maybe.
I know.
Not North 40 acres, right? So,
yes.
But
yeah. So we go back, and we have this little place in Switzerland we really like to go to. It's in the Lower Engadin Valley. We've been there a couple of times. 3 years ago, we went with some friends, and we just did a driving trip. We were in the Valle d'Aosta. We were up in the Dolomiti. We were in Treviso for a little bit. I mean, we were in Austria. We were in Germany. We did a 2-week driving trip. We flew into the airport in Munich and rented nice BMWs, and we rented a Mercedes. Everybody else got BMWs, and we just drove all over Europe.
It's nice to do it in the nice car, and when you can hit the Autostrada and just have that European driving experience, of course.
Yep. And then after that, we go back every year, but we stay in Vicenza for maybe 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm in Europe and I don't go visit my family, then I might be disowned.
Right.
Yeah. Italian families. So I go see my cousins. My aunt passed this past December, but I go see my family and my friends, and we stay there about 3 days, and then we're done. We go do whatever else we want to do.
So was your mom originally from there?
She was born and raised there. My dad was stationed at Caserma Ederle as a very young man. I mean, he was in his 20s. He was Air Force, and he was part of a Air Force detachment that was on the Army base. And he didn't want to live on the base, so he rented a room from my mom's cousins who had just gotten married, and that's how he met her, and they fell in love and got married, and then he got stationed in her hometown 5 times.
Wow.
And because he learned to speak Italian fluently, so he was the liaison between the Italian general and the American general, the Italian Air Force general and the American Air Force general.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then every summer that we didn't live there, we spent the whole entire summer there.
Oh, you just what part of Vicenza did you live in, or what outskirt area did you live in when you lived in Vicenza?
Oh my gosh. The first house we lived in was in Torri di Quartasolo.
Okay.
And then the second, I don't exactly remember what area it was in. It was close to downtown, because I remember that we could walk from the house. Within like 10 to 15 minutes, we would be downtown. Mm-hmm. And then my aunt or my cousins now own a property in Villaggio del Sole.
Okay.
So they have it's a walled manor house from like the 1700s or something like that. So I kind of grew up there.
Nice. So you were right downtown.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's where I learned to walk everywhere.
Yeah, I lived kind of close. I lived where the Palo Sport was, and kind of near that airport, probably where your dad worked.
The Dalmolin. Yeah.
Yeah. So I lived near there, and it was away from Villaggio and stuff. So of course I got the Italian culture, and I was there from age 5 to 19. So that was a stretch.
Wow.
And I'd go back to the States every couple of years, visit family, buy American stuff. Oh, it's so great here. Come back, and then talk about how we want to go back. And you couldn't live in the moment as a kid, because you're always moving forward every 5 minutes. You're like, I gotta have the newest thing. And you look back and you go, man, that was pretty amazing. You were more of a good girl, hardworking, good on your grades. You weren't quite as mischievous as old Len over here. You were focused, very, very well presentable, and had yourself together.
Well, I was friends with Dina. I was watching part of that podcast the other day where you were talking about how she was a good girl. So we were friends. I was also friends with Samantha Bram.
Okay.
But we had a whole set of Italian friends that we hung out with.
Was Sheila there too with you guys? Because I know
Sheila
she's,
was there, but I didn't really know Sheila as well. I know her now.
yeah.
I've actually, Mike has had some business trips in the DC area.
Hmm.
So 3 years ago, I contacted Sheila and Sam, and we got together in Virginia.
Hmm.
And we had like a little mini reunion. And I honestly hadn't seen Sheila since high school.
I think
Well,
Sheila,
either of them since high school.
I think Sheila was initially living in Villaggio, but then later stayed around in an apartment downtown, I remember. But no, I knew her. She was there a lot of years like us. I mean, you and me were there through a lot of years and a lot of people,
I
you know,
know.
right?
Yeah, and I just don't remember a lot from high school.
It happens.
Yeah,
People, it depends where your focus is in life. You could have hit me up a few years ago, and all I would be telling you is like, I got to sell another $1 million house. And that's all I was thinking about.
right.
You know, and it's where you're at in your life, what you're focusing on. If you're focused on the grandbabies and your work and, you know, what you and your husband are going to do for a vacation, it just depends. You know, some people are like, oh, I don't live in the past. The past isn't bad, though. The past is our formative years, it's our operating system for to get us to where we are now. And I think
Right.
growing up overseas gave us skills, regardless whether you get straight A's or not in school. If you were picking up the experience, the full immersion, I think that gave us tools to do stuff here in the States, but we kind of had to learn to calibrate them to the crowd around us. Like, how does this relate to these cowboy people? You know?
I know. Well, you live growing up over there to fit anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you really do. I can put on a different persona and take it. Do you know what I mean? I can fit anywhere. I don't really even have to speak the same language. I mean, I found that out working with the refugees. The first family, they didn't speak a word of English, and I didn't speak a word of Arabic, and we figured out. We just drew pictures.
Yeah. They're like, here we go.
Yep.
Let's find a wall and do some caveman paintings. I'm joking.
Yeah, and she learned great English. She speaks English fluently now, and I know 30 words in Arabic, and it's been 10 years. So
That's how it works.
yeah, I decided I didn't really need to learn how to speak Arabic because it's not a language I'm going to use.
I basically, I remember talking to my Italian friend, and he was like kind of making fun of me, like, haha, you get bad grades in school. And I go, hey, you know what? I got something for you. How much English do you speak?
Yep.
I can read and write your language, but you know, we're buddies still. But it was just like a jab for a jab. I go, oh, well, I wasn't paying attention, but I do speak your language and write it and read
Yeah,
it,
but
you know?
you had a lot of fun.
Of
I
course.
mean, yeah, I was serious. I didn't have as much fun in high school. Although, you know, when people say, well, where was your playground? Where did you go? My girlfriends and I would go to Venice for the weekend.
Right.
You know, that was my playground. Who can say that here in the United States?
Well, you probably, you know, depending on where you live and what group you hung around with, like even David Dinges was talking about hanging out with a lot of Italians, right? Hanging out with the Italians and going to Verona. So I'd see him, he'd be American guy, and then he's, hey, ciao, come stai, Davide? You know, he's like in the community, right? And so for me, you know, I bounced everywhere. I had 12, 13 years to figure out what this place was. And for me, I always wanted more. And I think I would project what I wanted out of life based on movies because of, you know, I go, well, I want more. You know, I'd go see other parts of the world and I go, I want more, I want more.
Yep.
So I would try to bring that version there. And yeah, a lot of mischief. Like I'm still best buds with my buddy Mark Parkins. And we were just talking about a lot of the many things we did. We would really push each other for one-upping one each other in some kind of mischievous event. And, you know, we might get portrayed as criminals, but we were just nonconformists. We weren't criminals, you know, because then I'd grow up to be a criminal and I wouldn't be able to do this podcast with you. You know,
No,
I mean,
I remember you guys just having a lot of fun. I don't remember the stigma of criminals.
well, like we like to party and stuff, but we were not trying to coerce, like, let's go see if we can get Claudia to become a real big drinker. We're like, oh, she's doing good. You know, we're not going to mess with her. We were not trying to convert people. We were not like dark sheep cult leaders of any kind. Though we did influence a lot of kids.
Right.
But that was the adventure. I think some of the things like, you know, if you were more with the Italians, they probably didn't feel like, let's go drink a bunch of beer at September's. They were like, you know, and they probably weren't into drinking as much. Like I took my Italian neighbor buddy. I was 15. Let's go to this bar. He's like, oh, que schifo. He tried some alcohol. He was grossed out. I go, come on, this stuff tastes amazing. So, you know, we were on different planes. And
Right.
yeah, I just wanted more activity because when you're there for that long and you keep hearing about from everybody coming over, oh, it's so great back home. Back home, we ride our bicycles backwards and jump into lakes or something, like, oh, we don't have a lake here. This sucks. Now, like you would hear stories like this. I don't know if anyone said any stories that made you want to move to the United States when you grew up. Do you remember anything like that or in your
You know
subconscious?
what? My mom, because she was Italian, she raised us more Italian than she really did American. I mean, we went to an American school, but when we got home, we spoke mostly Italian. Um, so I didn't love the U.S. when I went there. I was always wanting to go back home because to me, Italy was home. It's
Yeah.
not anymore. I mean, I love living in the U.S. I like Tucson. I mean, I'm happily married for 26 years. Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you. Our anniversary's tomorrow.
Fantastic.
But I never really I had that perspective where I thought, oh, I just can't wait to go to the US.
Right? Well, you
Yep.
didn't know. You didn't know your husband was waiting. You didn't know you'd live in Arizona. See, I didn't know where I was going to live. You didn't know where you were going to live. I thought I knew where I was going to live, and I coincidentally live here. But I didn't have any family here or anybody, any uncles, aunts, or anything. This was like a whole new slate for me. Um, Arizona. I'm sure. Did you have any parents or any relatives there, or any family members that live nearby?
I don't have any family here, but my husband's whole family lives here. Well, a
Hmm.
lot of them live here.
So
So
did
his mom, his dad, his brother, his sister, their families, aunts, uncles. We've got a lot of family here.
So did you come back like after graduation? You had your Italian summer, and then you went to college in the States, I presume.
Mhm.
And
So
where'd you
my
go?
parents actually stayed in Italy for 2 years, and they sent me to Fort Lewis College in Durango, Colorado. So I was
Okay,
there for 2 years. Then they moved back to Colorado and they got a house. And then they moved me back from Durango because it was so far from Denver. And I graduated from the University of Colorado in Denver.
it's a good school. So, so you were out working, and then you ran into your husband, and that was like what, a few years later after school?
He picked me up in a country western bar.
Oh, hee haw! Yeah.
Yeah. So my girlfriend and I had been previously married and I had a kid um, who was two, our oldest son, Sean. And my girlfriend and I would go on Wednesdays and Sundays because it was free. And we would do the lessons. It was something to do. And he was there one night and I just took a risk and gave him my number. And we've been together ever since.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I like those kind of places. I went to one out here called the Saddle Rack for years. You did not think you'd be line dancing, and
No,
no, you
no.
were in Vicenza. I will never line dance. That's so, whatever, taboo or no, not of my interest. When you're an
Right.
Italian, right? And you're like, oh, no facciamo questo. Yeah, it's funny, right? But then
Oh, I know.
for
But
me, go ahead, go ahead.
it was something we could do. You know what I mean? It was free, and we were single moms, and we just wanted to go hang out. And the Cowboys were a little bit nicer than some of the other bars. They weren't as awful some of the other
No,
places.
I agree. I mean, before I met my wife, I was having my wonderful midlife crisis in my at 40, and I'm going, where do I fit in? I'm 40 years old. I'm not exactly a young kid anymore, and where am I going to go? And I'm a big guy. I'm not the new generation. I'm the old generation. So let's go. Where is a
Mhm.
more of a this kind of manly man culture? So I just walked in the cowboy bar, and they just I'm like, wow. But if I went to the other place and they're dressed up like some kind of French poet in a velvet suit, I didn't fit into that nightclub. I could not
Right.
change my persona. So you kind of go where people are like minded, but they're very friendly. I like the country music scene. I don't listen to a lot of country music, only when I'm there, but I liked it, and I like the fun and I like the routine. And I think there's another Vicenza Cougar guy that's always shown his line dancing pics because he's just living that. Like people will live in that culture forever. They'll be like the
Oh yeah.
the Tillies or Cowboys or Saddle Rack type huge mega cowboy bar, and they will live it for their whole life. Even with their wife, they're gonna go, yeah, let's go dancing every weekend, right? It's like a lifestyle.
Yeah, that's so not us.
No, it was like your initial, okay, let's go meet yeah, I get it. But I mean, listen,
Yep.
none of us were given the book on how to get married the right time and who to pick. And I went through that too. I mean, I've been married. This is my third marriage, so nothing to sweat here.
Oh,
You know what I
wow.
mean? And a lot of people,
Yeah.
most guys I went to high school with have been married more than once. Not all, but most. The higher percentage than not. Because we were not taught that how to get married 101 in Vicenza. Not that anybody had a perfect book on it. It was so random. And what we did, why we did it, like, I think I get married when I was in the Navy. I'm 21, 22. Because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. I thought that was just a progression. And I didn't think, so you learn later. And I'm glad that you found a great husband and it's lasted all this lifetime, and you guys looks like you've had a wonderful family and everything built around all this, right? You've been
Yeah,
happy.
we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first husband was just, I mean, it's like you just said, I didn't have any kind of idea about how I was supposed to meet someone so he
Right.
was a total mistake. I mean, I think we were married a year
Right.
by the time we got divorced. So,
I had one of those.
yeah,
It's so normal. You're the odd duck out if you haven't gotten divorced. You're the weirdo. I'm joking. I'm watching this podcast.
but you know what? We got our son from that, and he's a great kid, and
Right.
yeah.
So there's a positive to everything, but it's like there was no, when you come to the United States, there is no common culture that you may have if you grew up and married someone from the base of Vicenza or had similar jobs, and military culture mixed with Italian culture and American culture. You might find a parallel. But there's people that have actually got married from our high school that are still married.
Really?
Yeah, there's a couple,
Wow.
2 or 3.
Okay.
I'm like, really?
Well,
I never felt like getting married towards the end of my senior year. Like, I must marry one of these women. No, I was like, I still have to go discover the world,
well, I had a couple of Italian boyfriends that wanted to get married right at 18.
Right.
I had one guy that I turned 18 and he proposed, and I was like, yeah, no. I think we need to break up. I'm leaving. I'm going to go to the U.S. and figure that out and do college and catch you later.
Yeah, I'm gonna go become a rocket scientist for NASA. I ain't got time for this, Paolo. I like
Yeah,
the I like the Vespa, but it's time to go. And then you're like back in the States. Oh, Paolo and his Vespa, we would go through the countryside. I'm kidding.
I know, and no. He wanted me to marry him, and he wanted me to move in with his mom and dad because that's an Italian thing.
Mm-hmm.
You get married and you still don't move out, and I was like, yeah, I don't think so.
You're like, they're singing tradition. You're like, okay, no. I want to. You have your American side, so you've had your own free thinking wild side and your conservative Italian side, at the time, right? You're like, got to go with the American thing. It seems so interesting. I've watched these movies, Xanadu, and you go to the States, you go to the beach, and everybody loves you, and you're successful. Yeah, maybe I'll be a roller disco queen. I don't know. I'm going to find out who I am. I'm making this all up, but
I know.
Right, but this is the stuff that comes with your what's in the United States, the great big oyster of opportunity.
So how did you get to where you are right now? I mean, I know from watching one of the podcasts that you were in the Navy.
Yeah.
Okay, and so how are you doing? I mean, why are you doing what you're doing now, or how did you get here?
Well, let's see. Right now, I'm basically medically retired from the military, so I'm basically retired. So I have all the time in the world to be Mr. Podcaster. And I need a hobby because you can't just retire. You can't. A retirement will kill you. Just so any of you guys that are fantasizing about, I can't wait till I retire. Because I truly believe this, that people need a sense of purpose, whether they're working for a job or they have a hobby or something they're committed to. And if they don't do it, this is just because this is my hobby. And it's also a great big conversation. And I'm tired of fake news, and I'm tired of real news, and I'm tired of nothing but negativity where people are just attacking each other. So the beautiful thing about the podcast is I'm talking to people that I knew before any of us had any politics, picked any sides, wore any jerseys, sided with a team, picked one military over the other. I'm with the Air Force, you're with the Army, all these divisive things. We were all one. And so that's kind of the narrative for, hey, remember when things were the way they are? And we all still have that at our core. Though, some people, they see something, they're easily influenced. For me, I'm a thinker because I grew up in Italy thinking all the time, as are you, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I came to this. But podcasting, I've done it. I did it with the Navy. I've done it for my friends in the martial arts. And I was like, I could do this for the Cougars. No one's going to do it. I can talk to people about it and say, Claudia, let's start a podcast. And it'll be a couple of emails back and forth. and you're going to be like, yeah, oh shit, we're going camping this weekend. Or, I would, but man, it's my kid's birthday. My husband's got a thing going on. And then we're going and I'm like, so there's two people and that dies. So I've always been pretty independent and I'm about implementation. I don't wait. I implement. People talk about it. I do it. So that's why it's here. I push. And
that you're doing it. I think this is really cool.
yeah. You were asking, how did I get here? I was stuck hanging around in Vicenza, getting some trouble. Nothing major league, but enough to leave Italy. And then lived in Canada, and I was like, am I still in trouble? So I went and checked out Vermont. I'm like, okay, no one's looking for me. And it wasn't that big of a deal, but it was just presented that way at the time. Then I went to join the military. The Air Force thought I was too, outgoing. The Army, I was tired of them because I grew up around them. And the Marines, I was looking at them, yelling at this big fat kid, and like he was already in boot camp, like, stand tall, soldier. I'm like, this guy's not even in boot camp. Who are you, dude? You crazy Marine guy? This guy's a civilian. He hasn't even signed the paperwork yet. And you're already treating him like you owe him. What the? You just gonna walk up to people, on the sidewalk, drop and give me 20, you. No. So I walked in the Navy guy, and he's like this suave guy with pretty women talking to him, like, what's up, buddy? Yeah. I'm like, he's like, you want to come join the wild? And I'm like, yeah, why not? Who cares? Well, get me to California. That's all I wanted. So I figured if I joined, I would get in California, get to see if I like it, and build my way out from there, develop my foothold. So I've been here since 88. Yeah. So that's how it's been.
Okay.
But pretty much Bay Area, California. I've bounced around a lot of places, but mainly here. And, it's the most expensive, one of the most expensive states. It's all these things that people love and hate about it. But somehow, like when someone says, hey, I've almost moved to Arizona a few times. I have friends in Scottsdale. I like it, but only in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? It's always like, you've been in Tucson. How are you liking that?
I love Tucson. I'm used to the heat now. Keiko Ratcliffe lives up in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And John Ratcliffe, her brother, lives in Sierra Vista.
Well, I'm supposed to have the brothers on possibly this weekend, Paul and John. And I did, before Keiko moved there, I did meet up with Les and Chris Summers. So we met up in Phoenix. That was a good little hangout, and the Scottsdale had a little lunch, Italian style. It was nice to reminisce. It's cool to meet people of different eras and different times. And maybe you didn't hang with this person all the time, but it's like, hey man, remember when we all went to the moon? We lived on the boot. We traveled to the boot. Then you have that in common. It's something that you don't have in common with your neighbor next door in your suburban household.
Right.
Right. So
I know.
Who did you hang with?
Tucson's pretty good.
It's pretty.
Sorry, I was gonna say Tucson's pretty good. We've been here for 21 years.
It's pretty. I like Tucson. I have nothing against it. Yeah.
And we live out in the middle of nowhere here. I mean, we're out in the country, so it's pretty good.
Those big, pretty rocks out in the desert. Those are beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And the mesquite trees, and it's a lot greener than people think. The desert's actually pretty green.
No humidity.
None.
Nada. Same here.
Like,
yeah, that's the thing. That's the contemplation. Do you want to move to Florida? Well, nothing against you Floridians. I went to school there in the Navy. It's like wearing a bag of water over your head, in comparison, right? And you're sweating all day long. That's what it is. But you're sweating.
Yeah, that's where my oldest son lives. He lives in Florida.
Yeah?
Yeah. So up until COVID, I was going and visiting him once a year.
Nice.
And I'm not going this year because I just don't want to travel with a mask and everything else.
I get it. So as far as this whole the Vicenza thing, who did you hang out with? Who were your buddies from the base, like American kids or American?
Well, I hung out with Dina.
Yeah.
So Dina and I would always, whenever we would go on those long field trips we went on, Dina and I were always the interpreters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. And then I hung out with Samantha Bram quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Keiko when she lived there. Daniela Austin.
Mm-hmm.
She's still there.
Yeah.
Um, and then I had a lot of Italian friends Michelle Brunson. Do you
Yeah.
remember?
The
Yep.
name is familiar. Some
Michelle.
face. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So, and
Some of the
then we,
faces, the name, I know that person. The name is not in my registry in my brain dead brain from being sober for almost 20 years. Yeah.
and then do you remember Dee Dee Earle?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Yes, I hung out with her. So she was even more of a good girl than I was.
Yeah?
Oh my gosh, her parents didn't let her do anything.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, what was that? I saw the picture, the graduation. What you see? Did you see that little graduation clip of you and David?
I did. That
It
was
was
so much
so
fun.
it was so cute. I go, look at the beautiful American Italians graduating.
And then I dated Troy Holland for a while.
Okay.
I dated Barry Pinnicky
Yeah.
briefly. Gosh, those are the only two people I remember as far as guys that I dated. Um,
Well, it wasn't a big dating operation for a lot of people. It wasn't for me.
no,
No, not at all.
they were both really brief, and then we were just kind of like, yeah, I think it's better just to hang out and be friends.
We held hands in the hallway twice. It's on.
Woo!
Woo! I'm something like put that on my letter jacket. Little hands holding. No, I'm kidding. It's a pin. No, for me, it didn't really live up to that. And a lot of girls that I liked or like me ended up finding out that like they thought I had somebody from another school or some Italian girl or something. And I had no idea. Everybody was just it was such a small community that if you really did like somebody, you'd be afraid to get rejected or speak out. So the
Yep.
girls as much as the guys. So your reputation went like a Twitter feed from a high level celebrity. You were like shamed. So I was reading this thing on dating years ago about the tribalism. So for example, I'll use my hands.
Okay.
Money, money, money. So here's a guy, he wants to ask out the let's say a cheerleader, and she's talking with her 5 other cheerleader friends. And he walks up to her, and he's stupid because he's doing it in front of the friends. And he goes up and is like, hey, Susie, maybe we could go out sometime. And she likes the guy, but she turns left and she turns right. And the other girls are going, I don't know. I don't know if I would, and everyone's afraid to admit that they all like the guy too. So they all kind of like knock each other out of the set. She's like, no, I don't think it's going to happen. And she wanted to. And
Yep.
these other ones, they're like, well, she's looking like, well, I am the head cheerleader, but if he's not good enough for you, and that kind of thing, it just kills people in that
I know, and
situation.
Vicenza was so small.
Right. Your reputation. We're like, I got to get out of here alive with my reputation if I can. Right? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it wasn't really happy days so much. It was for some people, but like some of us were like overly protective of our reputations and we're like, I need to leave here like this. But yeah, I get it. And some people were stuck on the good girl trip. I haven't even picked on you for that. I thought it's like, we're just like, you were so nice. We didn't put a label or anything on you. We didn't put a label on Dina either. It just happened to be on that podcast with Steffo. He's like,
Yeah.
and you were at home reading books about the Pilgrims or something while I was out drinking, whatever. No, it sounds like Steffo had a lot of fun. And Dina was like, oh, I just thought this is what you did. And
I
she
know,
was
me
happy,
too.
right?
Fun. I mean, we had fun. My friend Anna Maria and I would head up to Venice for the weekend, and we would flirt with all the boys from all over the world.
Yeah.
And we would either speak Italian or English or pretend we didn't speak one or the other.
Yeah, it was like acting class.
Yep. It was so much fun. I mean, I started doing that when I was about 15. She and I would hop on the train and have fun.
It's funny that you point that out. It's because you could be anonymous.
Yep.
Am I right? So if you could be anonymous, then you were more likely to go out there and be that way. And that's kind of how I felt the same way. We did the same thing in Venice. We weren't flirting with the boys though.
Not that I would judge if anybody was flirting with the boys.
The whole football team was. No, I'm kidding. No,
Well,
but
that's a huge surprise, but
yes,
anyway.
surprise. There's it didn't matter. What I saw was you were more, if you wanted to be outside of the base, outside of the circles where you were known, you could come alive.
Mhm.
Maybe that's why I ran all the way to California. Shit, I had to put way big distance behind me and that, right? You know, some people were fine with it though. But, you know, as a teacher's kid, your parents are always in your business. That's worse. Number
Mhm.
one. The chatterbox, the Twitter feed of the base, the chatter feed. What's my son doing? Oh, I saw Len. He's sniffing glue behind the teen club, chugging beers, doing kicking a tree down or something. I don't know. So that would be what it was. And in a way, you felt free, but in a way, you felt trapped because
Yep.
I didn't have, and I presume I don't know if you did or not, but I didn't have a house in the United States to go back to. We sold our house when we moved there, right? You remember
Yep.
that
No.
feeling? You're just you were where you were. You'd hear the other kids speak like, "I'm going back to our house in Texas, and we have a swimming pool. It's going to be great, and my cousins will be there." And you're like, "I'm going. Where am I going?" Right?
I know the closest thing I ever had to a house was my aunt's house there in Vicenza. I never had a place here. And you know, my husband and I have moved a lot over the last 26 years. We're finally in the last, well, I'm not, I told him I'm not moving again. I'm done. But we've moved probably 9 or 10 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm,
Um,
I got you beat, but that's good. It's conservative number.
yeah,
Uh,
it doesn't, it didn't seem like it's that big a deal. Do you know what I mean? Because I never really had a base. I mean, other than my aunt's house, I never really, like you said, had a home to go home to.
I don't know if I crave that so much anymore. There was a time I've owned houses and the market crashed and those were gone. And you know, I looked at that and I go, geez, I was planning my locking myself down and something. I'm not trying to say anything bad about anybody's decisions or anything, but I had a Russian guy working for me, and I go, haha, you were communist. He goes, oh, you know what's funny, buddy? And coincidentally, my wife's Russian too. So he's like, you think you're free? You have a huge. He goes, we had little ball and chain, little small ball like a bocce ball and a chain. We pick it up and go jogging. Your ball and chain is 8 feet wide and 10 feet tall, and it says Gucci on it. He goes, try running with that. In other words, leave your house, don't pay your bills, don't pay your taxes, don't pay this and that. See how long that lasts. And I go, oh, so that really tripped me out. So
Yeah.
yeah, I thought about that kind of deeply. I go, maybe you have a point, Mr. Mathematician. But
Stuff.
well, it doesn't matter because we're only here temporarily anyways. So
Right.
it's quality of life, right? There's
So we live,
no go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No. Bye.
We live in the house that my husband grew up in.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we just, his parents got tired of living out here 5 years ago and they sold it to us.
Nice.
Right. And we didn't want it to go out of the family because they've been here since he was 6 months old. So that's where we're living now. So we're pretty much settled.
That's nice. That's a nice thing. That's something familiar.
Yeah.
And you know, I feel like okay, I mentioned this. My wife wants to move to Spain. We may check out other states.
Hmm.
You know, my wife likes to travel like I did when I was young. But my wife's younger. So I'm like, okay, I can't deny that to you and say, guess what? No, we can't do that because I did that already. It's nah. It's like going to the video store in the olden days, like Blockbuster, and you're with whoever you're dating or married to, and like, oh, let's watch this new Mel Gibson movie. No, I already saw it. It sucks. And then you start eliminating movies and you do nothing. You know,
Right.
and with nothing. It's the same concept, right?
Mhm.
Oh, I saw that. Well, you saw that. I guess there's nothing. Let's just get this Bugs Bunny movie. But you know, it kind of works out like that. But yeah, to have your feet on solid ground after being a Rolling Stone, it is interesting, right? To make that change.
I like it. I mean, I'm at the point what was so I still like to travel a lot.
Hmm.
We were going to be in Italy this summer, well, in September, but that's obviously not going to happen now. Um, but I like to come home.
Yeah,
Yep, we're leaving as long as our coat because okay, so we're going sport fishing in Alaska this
nice.
weekend. Um,
We almost went up there, but there's that what 72-hour COVID test thing.
right, we just did it today. We
Okay.
did it this morning and we mailed it out. And so as long as it comes back negative, which it will because we don't go anywhere and we don't, you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, we're going to be going to Alaska, and so I'll enjoy that, but I'll like to come home.
So you want to leave so you can enjoy coming home. It's kind of like my discussion with Cindy and Barbara, who both became military spouses and came back to Vicenza. But
Okay.
they've always been waiting for orders to move every 3 years now that they're back in the States. because you wanted to live in Vicenza and then get stationed somewhere else. Oh, I'm in Kaiserslautern, or I'm in Heidelberg, or I'm in Korea. Oh, and we're back. So you could enjoy coming back to Vicenza. The same effect had when you'd go home for the summer or go to the United States or travel abroad and then come back to Italy. You missed it. You're like, oh, it's familiar.
Well, you know, before I met my husband, I had planned on moving back to Vicenza.
Yeah.
And staying.
And become a teacher and take over the school?
Yeah, I decided I just didn't want to live in the US anymore. I was just kind of tired of, you know, I'd taken my son back a couple of times. I took him back when he was 1 and then again when he was 2. And I just felt more comfortable there. And I decided I was going to move back to Vicenza and my family was going to help me get a job and I was going to make it work and yada, yada, yada. And then I met Mike and stayed here.
So I guess initially it didn't live up to your expectations. Initially, before you met Mike, before you met your husband, the States wasn't living up to your expectations as it was for me. Like I didn't feel it yet.
Yeah, no, it really wasn't. I really still missed the culture and I missed my family and you know what I mean? And then I met Mike and we fell in love and he has a really big family too. And so it was kind of like, I felt kind of enveloped by his family and then it was like, oh, okay, I could stay here.
Well, that's the deal, right? So I came to California, which I thought was going to be instant gratification and I was going to love this place. So just on a funny note, like joining the Navy, I go to Florida and I'm in the Navy going to school and I'm in the singles life and my best pickup line is hi. And then I come to California, you say hi, they go, what do you drive? You know, it's like a total 360. Yep. What do you, how much do you bench? Let me see your black American Express. Wasn't that bad, but in some ways a slight version, right? So more to prove and a little, the movies made it look like everybody just met each other and they were happy. It didn't work like the movie where, you caught each other's eyes and it was perfect. It did not work like that. You had to take a little bit more effort and a little more gamesmanship or whatever to get other people to admit that they had a facade and you had a facade. I'll take off my mask if you'll take off your mask. It's kind of like what that is, right?
Yep.
So,
where in the Bay Area do you live?
I live east of San Francisco, about 28 minutes. I mean, with traffic, an hour, but right now, 28 minutes. Not that far. So
that's one of our favorite places to come. We've been there for probably 3 or 4 anniversaries.
Nice.
We love San Francisco.
For me, coming here, now this is when it clicked. So I joined the Navy in '87, and I came back to Italy on leave when I was. Hey, hi, doggy. Yes. And I came back to Italy on leave. I believe it was '88 or '89. I think it was '89, and I hadn't really felt, California. Like it's not what I thought it was, but I didn't realize that I did. I ran into Richard Collins downtown, him and his sister, and then I actually had him on the podcast the other day. Didn't see him for 30 years, 32 years, whatever. Just, oh, hey, you're on the podcast. Welcome to the time machine.
Yep.
But I'm there, and I'm going out and having all this nightlife, and I go back to Vicenza, and it's great, and I'm a different person now. I mean, I'm a military guy, and, I go out the Italian economy, and the Italian girls are a lot friendlier because I'm really into fitness and stuff at the time. They're like, oh. So that changed because I wasn't working out and stuff when I was in high school and all that, not so much. I'm like, oh, new opportunities. But I remember waiting by my parents' house. They'd moved further out past Torrey, I think, Torrey to Quarter Solo. And I'm waiting for a bus and I'm there for like an hour and a half going, damn, I could be somewhere already. I miss California. That's when I knew. And I enjoyed the nightlife. I enjoyed going out. I go, once I ran the circuit, I go, I'm ready to go. Yeah.
No. We go back to Vicenza and I'm happy. I like to visit my friends and family. My husband's like, oh man, we should just come here, every year. And I'm like, there's a lot of other places in Europe we could go.
Right, I get it. Like they're digging the vibe, like you're getting that cool experience. You're like, but this is like old slippers to me. I've worn them. I want something new to wear. And I get it. And like, there's a lot of places I've moved. I'm like, I could live here. I used to go to LA and I'd go up in the Beverly Hills. Oh, I could live here. I could live in Orange County. I could live here, Scottsdale, another one. I could live here. Did not really feel that about Colorado. I liked it. Didn't feel like, Oregon, not as much, no. I thought it was pretty, thought it was nice to visit, but I didn't say I could live here. Like certain places I've moved, or
Right.
gone to Spain, 100%. 100%. I will live here. It's me because it's that part of me that I don't use every day. I mean, my wife and I are not speaking Spanish.
Right.
You know, maybe a little Russian, but you know, she studied Spanish too. So, but we're just like we are who we are. But when we go to Spain, we're immersed. We like the tapas. We like going out and having jamon and you know their version of prosciutto, and their food is excellent. The price is amazing, and I used to like going to Arizona because it was so much cheaper than here. Spain is like going to another thing with the beach and the water's swimmable
Oh, I
as
know.
opposed to the cold water here.
Hmm.
So, but in Arizona, you'll probably swim more than you will in a lot of other states because you guys get pools. Everybody's got a swimming pool,
Everybody has a swimming pool. You know,
right?
I don't really use ours very often.
Now I'm coming over. When you guys are leaving, I'll come use your pool for a while.
No, well, you know,
I'll clean it.
if you ever head this way, if you and your wife ever head this way, we have a guest house. Because
Nice.
when my father-in-law built it, I mean, he got this property 50 years ago for nothing. It's 17 acres,
Damn.
way bigger than what we need. And we have a fully furnished guest house.
That's
So
pretty sweet. You're living the rancher life, right?
yep, anybody that wants to come,
We'll
we
start
got
the new
room.
broadcasting center there. Now from SCB, Cougarland podcast coming up next.
Coming up
Right.
next from Tucson, Arizona. Yep.
I wonder what, if any younger kids in Vicenza are looking at this now, because I don't think they, you know, as one of my friends that lives there still says, they don't leave the base or do any of the stuff that we did. So they hear what we talked like, what? Those people were wild. But the times have changed. This was the pre-internet, no cell phone, no GPS tracking, no calling an Uber. We wouldn't be downtown Vicenza drinking and then call an Uber and get home and, you know, all this stuff. And parents, I see you. You're at the pizzeria with all the GIs. Get out of there. Like, you know, I saw you checking on Facebook. You lied to me. I thought you were doing your history assignment with Jenny Johnson over in whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have the freedom we had. When I was young, you know, I would take off on my bike and I would just go. I would leave at 9 o'clock in the morning during the summertime, and I would had to be home at 5. And my mom knew the general area I was going to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hung out with my friends all day.
Well, the trick was to stay at your friend. I'm staying at my friend's house. So if you went to Dina's in Verona, that's probably when you had a little more freedom, right?
You know what? I don't remember going to Verona very much.
Disco Dina, we used to call her. I'm kidding.
No, Dina. She hasn't changed at all. She still looks the same.
She's such a sweetie. You know, you look the same. Both of you. You guys look like, hey, what happened? You know?
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's the smoothing thing on Zoom.
Are you using the smoothing thing? I'm using like, hey, man, look at the red marks on my face. It looks cool.
Actually, I don't think my husband told me about it, but I never did it. So
I have it. And then I was doing it on podcasts, and my friend was like, why do you keep looking like you're wearing a weird filter? And I go, what are you talking about? You know, you can change it. Like I can put it on right now, and you'll say, oh, okay. Video settings, watch. If I put this thing on, touch up my appearance. See?
Oh, okay.
Look at my makeup. How wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's gone back. But that's how it works. I don't know. You know, you were like, I don't know what to talk about. Like, what do I remember? And I go, it's not about all that, Claudia. It is about the journey more than anything. Because people want to see, like, where's my friend Claudia? And some people you had connections with that you don't even remember. And we all have half a memory. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've had people contact me on Facebook and say, oh my gosh, you still look the same. And I remember you doing this. And I'm like, wow, I don't remember. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And then as we talk, I'm like, oh, okay, I do remember you. But I wouldn't have remembered them if they hadn't contacted me and mentioned that point in time.
Well, I think it's easier for my brother and I because most people had my father as their, you know, teacher or coach at some point. And then we were there and I was a mischief maker. So you had to know about me. You know, it wasn't because I was trying to get a reputation or be known or be in everybody's business. Like I leave people alone. I wasn't messing with people. But that's the thing. It's like, you still knew me. I knew you. I remember you. You know,
who would be kind of fun? Who would be fun to interview is Mr. Hakeem.
I hear that. He's going to talk to us about bottles. Bottles. Paint the bottle.
He's still on Facebook. I mean, a lot of us are still in touch with him. Yeah.
A lot of parents and people of that era are like using Facebook. It's all like that. Unfortunately, Facebook has so much propaganda in a lot of ways that you don't know one thing from the other, right?
Right.
Um, like you're like, well, welcome to. I'm used to the news being truthful. Now it's all like, oh, I turned on the garbage faucet and the garbage is pouring into my head. That's the problem. That's what kind of, like I said, the reason behind this is to remember things when they were the way they were. There was no
Right.
fake. What did we have? Fake news and SEB. We didn't have like SEB going today. A large dragon is going to eat everybody in Vicenza. We never had nothing like that. It was just like, well, you didn't have SEB at your house, I would presume.
So I've chosen not to watch the news anymore.
Good for you.
Yep.
Makes
Can't
no
do it.
difference. Makes no difference,
It doesn't.
right? Watch the
Doesn't.
podcast. It's just good stuff. I don't go political or this or that with anybody because we didn't have that then. But now people want to be what they think they are now. I'm like, now remember who you are at your core. Remember who you are as a person before you're affiliated with parties and stuff. It's like joining a gang. I'm joining this gang. We represent the goodness for this, but the badness in this. I'm joining this gang. We represent the good and bad in this. Both of us do something bad. Both of us do something good. But anyways, you don't have an opinion anymore. I'm like, be yourself. Be the individual and talk to people through the eyes as they were as kids and little miniature grown-ups as we had the responsibility in Italy, right? You know?
Oh
But
my gosh, we felt like we were so adult.
right? You remember that. You did
I
act like a
do.
little, you acted like a little grown-up all the time. You did.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness.
I remember that.
So were you,
I
you like, I think you lifeguarded with me and David.
Yeah, do you, okay. So do you remember putting snakes
Mm.
in, so I am not afraid of snakes because of you guys.
Oh, good.
Because I would come to work and you guys put snakes in my bag.
Oh my
You guys
goodness.
put snakes. You took those little garden snakes. Remember those things?
I
And
did.
you put them in
It
snakes
wasn't.
and
I might have been affiliated with who did it, but I didn't like snakes either, so it probably wasn't me.
okay, well maybe it wasn't you, but it was the male lifeguards, and you guys put snakes in our bags.
That's sexy. Those little,
So,
like, they're just a little bit less dangerous than a earthworm.
yeah.
Yeah, I know
And
the
I
kind.
retaliated. I don't remember who it was, but I took the snake and I put it down his pants. I don't remember whose pants it was, but I was like, okay, I'm done. Put snakes in my bags.
Yeah, you're gonna get a case of the snake pants. But like,
Yes.
what years were you? Do you remember what years you were lifeguarding? And was it Bellagio or was it the Officers Club?
So I lifeguarded from when I was 16 until I was 20. So it would have been 84 to
Hmm.
90.
So did you lifeguard with me and Mark Parkins in Bellagio? Do you recall that, or because there was two
I
pools.
think I remember. Yeah, I remember Mark.
Yeah.
Might have been because he was always. Yeah, you guys were always messing with us.
Perhaps. I mean,
Yes.
I remember a great time on the lifeguard because we'd keep one pool to ourselves and throw pool parties, and we would have everybody at the other pool. One was our private pool, and that little locker room was like, we'd have our lockers and just go to the food land and get beer. It was very convenient. It was a pool party every day to me, and I remember.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I remember Mark Parkins being egged on to jump a ramp on his moped, and we built one over the bench in the back. I mean, there's that little barbecue thing, like the back by the fence. So here's a pool here, but we're facing the cornfield, like the end. Like if you walk in and you get to the final end, there's the fence. So back there, he had his moped in there, and he jumped it over this, like one of those benches with the long wood, those like they look like the benches in the locker rooms we'd have. And he jumped up and he stopped just before he ran through the fence. And it was a very Evel Knievel moment. It was hilarious, but that was one of the many silly moments. I mean, the pool parties.
Oh my gosh.
People were picking up stray dogs or people's dogs and throwing a bunch of animals in the pool and jumping bicycles that they found in the pool and people riding bicycles underwater. It was pretty nuts. I don't know if you were.
Yeah, so I was out at Bellagio for a while, but I was also at the Officers Club.
Okay.
I was at the pool there.
That was the tame one.
Yeah, that was more tame.
Now, if you got stuck guarding the one over by the gym, then the GIs were going to start serenading you in your lifeguard chair all day long. Inevitably.
Nope, I never had to work over there.
Yeah.
And that was back when we were lifeguarding in bikinis too. I mean, lifeguards aren't allowed to do that nowadays, but I remember wearing a string bikini and lifeguarding.
Yeah. I don't know if they're not allowed to it if we become a more prudish society with more exposure on social media, but not in person. Guess that's how it
Well,
works.
it is hard to jump in the water and save someone if your bathing suit's going to come off because it's too small.
Yeah, yeah, it's more aerodynamic for getting to the water quicker. That's about it.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
but
So I'm imagining that's why the rules changed.
you remember the training we would do before every season? We'd go to Abano.
Mm-hmm.
Remember where you'd have that place you could swim under the wall and there was that high dive. It was the heated pool.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. See, I'm taking you back. I'm opening the brain doors. You know.
You are.
Yeah. So who else did you lifeguard with that you recall? If you lifeguarded with us, it was me and Mark and Dingus and you and maybe Freddie Parkins at one time. There was a group of us that were usually the lifeguards. And then there'd be like in Villaggio, there'd be an NCOIC, some sergeant in charge of the pool.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I mean, yeah,
Isn't it amazing?
don't.
Isn't it amazing?
I know.
It will all come flooding back to you after the podcast. But we've established that you live there and you know me and I know you. So that's the most important part of the podcast. And really, it's just for me and her, not for you guys. No.
How did you meet your wife?
Let's see. I was a professional bowler and I wore these really tight pants and she liked my ankles and my quads. So then we get married. Oh. No, I'm kidding. Nothing like that.
Okay.
Right? No, I was actually using the internet like everybody else does. Because what are you going to do? Go to a bar? Because, okay, when you're young, you went to a bar. That's where you met people. Right. When I was young, you go to a bar, they see you see them, okay. And then I started doing statistics. I go, wait a second. If I go to this bar, the person I'm supposed to meet might not go to bars, might not be there, So I'm going to open this window of random possibilities by going to this building where someone's going to show up in the next 2 to 3 hours. And there's going to be 50 other guys after the same person and blah, 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 blah. So internet dating became the ultimate way just to meet women. And it's the way of the future. It is what it is.
Oh, it is.
I mean, You want to go to a bar and risk a DUI and maybe you don't feel like drinking tonight. Or maybe they're not feeling like drinking. Maybe they're a registered nurse and they're working in a hospital and they have shifts and they don't make it to the nightlife and they're focused on their career. Maybe they have a busy life and they're cycling and they're doing something. They're never going to come to the bar, but you guys would get along, quite well. So that's one thing that the internet, the best way I could say is like, if you're dating on the internet, you're exposed in a city like where I live. You have 10,000 people to choose from and to choose you from, as opposed to going to a nightclub and you're at the teen club. Duck. There's a guy like, oh, he's talking to 2 girls. It's over. Screw it. I'm out of here. I mean, that's what would happen to a lot of us in Rejection City. But, like you said, go to the Venice place, flirt a little bit, get a little confidence. You're somebody over here. You don't have to. Everybody liked to be meeting the strangers from afar. I don't know. That's just how it played. But I know what you're saying. And no, I've met women plenty face-to-face on the normal. I still was able to do that. It wasn't a problem, but just the odds. I said, I had a friend, we were roommates for a while, and he's like, yeah, I just want to meet a girl that lives nearby, looks like this, has all this. I go, well, what if, you have a pretty high detailed list on what you think you deserve, pal. Truthfully, I think you're punching above your pay grade. But, you want this wish list. Santa Claus is coming to town. And you want her to live down the street.
Yep.
What is realistic in this mathematics that you're talking for? You want the odds, you're narrowing the odds. And now if you expand the search radius, there's a chance there might be somebody that's like that might have an interest in you. But when you say only within this block or this street, I'm like, there's no people like that on this street. So what are you talking about? If you want to meet a French fencing champion, you're not going to meet him hanging out in Arizona.
No.
Right?
You're not. No.
The odds are, so that was kind of like the way I looked at it. But some people are like, oh, I don't do that. I do it. I'm like, we're all proud in what we did and the way we did it. But this was just technology. Like, why fight that? But if you're not likable, if you're not a good person, if you don't show well in person and you're pretending you're catfishing and changing your profiles and all this other crap, people are going to meet you and go, oh, sorry, man. No way. I'm out of here. you like.
Sure.
You're not going to trick them, you know?
Right.
I'm sure you never went on that because you've been married since that was invented.
I've been married for, yeah, such a long time. I have a lot of friends and a number of friends that have met their spouses online. And I
Yeah.
have a younger friend right now. She's 35 and she's going through the whole dating thing. And so she
Is it
calls me
rough?
and we talk about guys. She's on Bumble.
Mm-hmm. Is it rough
And
or is like, because the problem is that initially people were nicer and they got meaner over time because they were getting rejected or they're meeting a crazy person. So you meet more people quicker, but you also have these impacts of experiences faster too. And you're like, man, all these guys
she's
just,
enjoying it.
yeah,
Sorry.
she's liking
Yep.
it. It's working for her.
Hmm.
Good.
Yeah, she's on Bumble. So the girl initiates everything on that.
Mm-hmm. It's the
So she
Sadie
likes
Hawkins dance.
it's the Sadie Hawkins dance on the internet. Yep.
Right. Where the other way you have millions of men spamming you, that
Yep.
you're not interested in. You're like, thank you. I mean, the funny side of that, we're just way on a tangent. I just know a lot about it. But I talk to girls like, I have 100 emails. I'm like, yeah, but these are a bunch of good time Charlies that are full of shit or just trying to see if you'll say anything to them. So most of that's spam. You don't walk to the grocery store and there's 100 men. There she is. It's like in the movie Grease. You know what I mean? They're all singing, you know. They're not lining up. It's like, no, you're just normal like everybody else. You know, even, they're like, oh my gosh, it's her. And 100 guys from the internet show up at the grocery store. Can I help you with your tomatoes? I mean, it doesn't,
No, that's not real life. So how
well,
long have you guys been married?
oh, a little over 7 years. It works. It
Yep.
works. It's easy. But that doesn't mean that there was not a lot of shopping. There was a lot of shopping.
It's easy when it's the right person.
Well, yeah. Well, if because I was married a couple times, I said, you know what? I'm going to learn. I'm not going to blame them. I'm going to learn what's up with me and where do I
Right.
keep stepping on my foot the same time, the same way. Like I keep stepping in the same landmine going, oh, what a beautiful place to walk. Oh, it's a landmine. Damn it. I did it again. So you have to rethink your personality. If you've had a couple bad relationships, you have to say, how much of it is me? It's accountability.
Right.
Where do my patterns and my habits repeat, and how do I unlearn those and always end up with you kiss the princess and she turns into a frog or vice versa? It's like, damn it, another frog dressed up as a princess. But it's you have to calibrate and go, what do I do? How long did I wait last time? No, you met them and you thought you instantly liked them. You told yourself that this was the greatest thing. You went home and had a full sales seminar on yourself. You didn't observe these 3 things that were like, maybe this isn't smart to do. And it's like you're going, and I hate, it's not exactly the analogy, but you go to buy a car. It's beautiful. It's a Jaguar. You turn it on. You hear it ticking in the engine. You're like, but it's a Jaguar. It's a Jaguar. You're like, yeah, but probably 10 miles down the road, this thing's going to blow up.
Right.
You're not paying attention to that stuff. So I think that's where people do that. Go ahead.
I always told my nieces that you have to kiss a lot of frogs to find your prince.
Yeah?
Yep.
You didn't seem like you ran through a lot of frogs.
I ran through a lot of frogs. I ran through a lot of Italian frogs.
Italian frogs, yeah.
Yes. And then I ran through a lot of frogs before I met my husband here in the US. A lot.
But basically like speed dating version, like next, yes.
Yeah, it was like, you date, right away. I've always been pretty decisive, and if it wasn't right, I was done.
Well, I had to learn, like, okay, the one thing you're not aware of as you grow older, this is now the dating show and the marriage show, which is fantastic because it's a different flavor than anyone's seen yet. And I'm not just now everyone's going to start calling me for expert advice later. But, and Claudia, my cohort here, how to stay married for a very long time and how to meet lots of ladies fast with the internet with Len. No, get the best of both worlds. But I think that what I discovered is, okay, there's people that are pushy, there's people that are needy, there's people that have psychological issues that you never used to pay attention to because they're just a little happy or they just a little indecisive. And if you look at that a little longer, you go, ooh, that's a deep-rooted pattern. I'm not just like, yeah, but they're so nice and they were fun at the ball game with me the other day. No, you're not doing that. You're going to go, I see the pattern repeat itself. I see this again.
Right.
Ooh. Now, guys don't normally do that. Women do that more than guys. They look
That's
for,
true.
but I have a friend of mine, pretty woman. I think she's like 38, 39 now. She's always had this list, and the list is the worst thing you can have. You better make this much money, be ready to support me, do this for me, and this for me. I go, the only problem I have with your list is you're talking about for me, for me, for me, me, I, me. Okay? You're not talking about we and us, and I
Right.
will, and I would love to, and I would do anything for that person. Now you have a team. Now you have something that can work. But anything that's too one-sided, whether it be him or her, it's going to just fall off the wagon, right? So
I
when you meet people, you see how much congruency there is and see how much you have in common. But anybody can give anyone a great 5 minutes. You can have a great weekend romance, and then that's the best it's ever going to be. They're like, okay, well, at least I know. But if you're like, oh, I'm not good enough, or you go beat yourself up, that's on you. I mean, you can go through a breakup today and have a date in 15 minutes with somebody else and never have to spend a year of kicking your own ass, like in the movie Liar, Liar. You ever seen that movie with Jim
Yes.
Carrey? What are you
Yes.
doing? Kicking my own ass. Well, that's what people used to do in the olden days, myself included. Um, but you have to watch out for, do I have any issues? Do I have any of this? And let's look at the long term, because anybody can tell you, hey, Claudia, you ready? We're going to go hike the jungle. Hell yeah, Len. And we go, and Len didn't really work out and do his cardio. And Claudia, she's been running 10 miles a day. And she's like, keep up, dude. I'm like, well, I thought we were going to hike. Yeah, but that's not hiking. Argument ensues. Screw off, dude. I got to go, man. I'm hungry. There's food down here. You're just pulling me back. And if I don't get any calories in me, oh my gosh, that kind of thing. And so
Yeah.
a lot of people, they start the hike in the jungle and they give each other a great 5 minutes. Yeah, I've got the gear. Yeah, I can do it. I can do it. And at the 6 minute mark, some people are like, you know what? I can't do it. They go right up and they present a great case. Yeah, I was a marathon runner. I can climb mountains. I'm ready to go. Oh, I've decided I can't do it. You're like, whatever. You can't figure that one out. The other person runs halfway through with you and gives up. The other person veers off from you and, whatever. This is what, so that's the problem, is everyone gives you a great 5 minutes. Your friend probably sees this. These men and herself, they're all trying to show their best side, right?
Right. So the funny thing is that Mike and I, a couple of years ago, when we went to Costa Rica, we did do a hike through the jungle, and my husband to this day calls it the death hike.
You're like, you want to re-sign the contract? I get to see where you're at. It's been 20 years, so time to re-up, buddy. Right? We're going to the jungle hike.
Yeah, we both had a great time, but it was like through the jungle. It was hot. I looked back at one point, and he's got sweat that's just pouring off of his hat. I thought it was raining. It was sweat.
How did I read into your marriage so psychically? I have no idea.
It's just funny, and we had a great time. Fun hike. We, went into these little coves that nobody would ever go. We saw monkeys. Went up a mountain and through the jungle and stuff like that. And it was a lot of fun, but it was just like, we were so tired by the time we were done. It was, he jokingly has called it the death hike.
No. You're like, that's when I knew you were the man for me. I've walked many a men through this jungle and this forest. Most of the bodies are by the side, as you can see.
He's always been
just ran the other way. Oh yeah.
I always tell people he's my guy. He's been my guy since the first time since I first met him. I knew on our second date that we were going to get married.
That's pretty awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling this time around too with my wife.
He's a good guy.
What I look for was consistency. I mean, it's silly. You're dating in your 40s, you have wisdom. You're dating in your 20s, you have desire. There's two different things. One of them, you're like blowing it up, like it's going to be the greatest movie I've ever seen. It's going to be fantastic. And the other one, you're like, let's see how well this really is. You're sitting back, checking it out.
Hey, did you find when you first moved to the U.S. that you didn't understand the way Americans did things?
I don't know. I thought I understood it okay. Well, what was off for you?
I just found, when I first moved here, I think because I had spent so much time doing stuff with my Italian family and friends, I didn't know like common American euphemisms. Like I would always, instead of saying a bull in a china shop, I would say an elephant in a china shop because my mom always got them wrong because English wasn't her first language.
Yeah.
And I just remember coming to the US and just thinking, wow, things just don't make as much sense.
Yeah. Like a
Yeah,
little, like it was. I
it was
don't
a
know. There's
culture shock.
nothing really threw me off. I'm like, there's Burger King, there's 7-Eleven, there's beer, there's a beach. Okay, cool. It was simple to me. I don't know. I came back for a couple of years. I lived in Kentucky for a few months, so I get a little taste, but that's not really the rest of America. Like I ended up in a place like California instead. But I've been around Bible Belt, southern dry counties, and I've been around Boston, and I've been around California. And of course, I've traveled a lot to most of the states since then. But yeah, I didn't find it too hard of an adjustment. My expectations were based on movies, which later, I mean, I live in the Bay Area. It's not Orange County. It's not the Promenade down by LA. It's not Newport Beach. I didn't even go there till like 15 years after living here. Well, oh, this is what they were making a movie about. It wasn't the movies, the way I perceive California. It wasn't now maybe more tech-based nerd movies would be made about the Bay Area, some kind of lifestyle sitcom. But back then, it was more about lifeguards and living the lifeguard life. And I was a lifeguard. You were a lifeguard,
Baywatch.
right?
Did
We were.
Baywatch,
We lived the
right?
Baywatch already. We lived the Baywatch life,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So, are you still lifeguarding?
No.
Oh, I was kidding.
Nope, 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 nope.
Well, I mean, hopefully after all this craziness is over, it looks like you guys are going to travel. My wife is like,
Sure.
my wife's like, let's go to Croatia. I'm like, yeah, we could, because just like Alaska, we can go. You know, I'd go to Croatia. We
I would
wanted
go
to.
to Croatia. Okay, but at this point, I would pretty much go anywhere. It's like,
Are you have that restless thing? Do you guys travel a lot already?
so we had started a number of years ago, once the kids were both gone, out of the house and doing their own thing. We started probably about 4 years ago. We really started going places every summer. We would
Hmm.
maybe do a trip somewhere in the spring and then somewhere in the fall, maybe US in the spring and someplace else in the fall, Costa Rica, I mean, Switzerland, just someplace.
Yeah.
Um, Last year, I was actually in Milan for a month,
Wow.
June to July. I have a girlfriend whose daughter is tall and skinny and pretty, and she was trying to break into the modeling scene. So she rented an apartment in Milan, and we were there for a month, and I did all of the translating for her.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we did that, but we just traveled. I mean, we traveled literally. I traveled from the beginning of June, all the way through September. And I was in California, I was in Washington, I was in Denver, I was in Italy, I was in Switzerland. I was all over the place. And I got done with June to September. I was like, I'm done. I don't want to travel anymore. And I'm like, I just want
It
to go
comes right
somewhere.
back. It comes right back, Claudia.
It does. Now I just want to go somewhere.
My wife is pushing me. We're going to North Carolina. I've never been. She wants to go to the beach. I want to go check out, some areas. Currently, she has multiple job offers and there and here, and it's weighing the difference between California and North Carolina.
That's where
Um,
Keiko's from. You should talk to Keiko. She loved being in North Carolina when
well,
she
her
was.
parents live by the ocean there, right?
Yeah, and they still live
Where
there.
the work is not there though. The work is up in the mountains in a beautiful area, Asheville. But
Okay.
but you're dealing with humidity. I
Yeah.
mean, hey Claudia, I'll give you 10,000 more a year if you move to Florida.
Nope.
Ain't happening, right?
Nope.
So we just gotta go look the big wet blanket in the face and see what that's all about. You know what I mean? Let me go to the sauna and see if it's tolerable. The difference would be is the cost of living is 54% less.
Oh, yeah, because California is so expensive.
Yeah, and they're talking about raising our taxes again too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're insane. We're gonna
We're actually.
we're gonna get rid of the cops, but we're gonna raise your taxes. Like,
Oh, there you go. Yeah, no, we almost
thanks.
got rid of our cops here too, but they decided not to, so that's
They
good.
decided not to in the place where my wife works too. It's like it doesn't make any sense. You know what I
Right.
mean? But I will say that if you look at this whole situation, um, you know, this California thing is a beautiful thing, and it's like a mean, beautiful woman that you're married to. That's what I think of California. You wake up sometimes, she's making out with the pool guy. but then you forgive her. No, I'm kidding. It's bad. California is so friggin' pretty, but so expensive and hits you with, oh, by the way, tax. Or, oh, by the way, gas is $4, not $3 anymore. Or, oh, by the way, hey, remember cigarettes were $3? Now they're 10. It's like everything just, bam, and they just nail you. Oh, the Bay Bridge used to be $3. Now it's $9 to go over.
But you have to pay for bags when you go to the grocery store. I thought that was weird.
Yeah, 20, 30, 40 cents, something like 20 cents. I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
I'm like, no, that's okay. I'll carry everything.
I mean, a great interpretation would be Robin Hood. The Sheriff Nottingham just shows up and whacks you across the head midway through the forest with your groceries. So, yeah, you make a huge paycheck here, but you walk with less.
Right.
But you live in California, so you can tell your friends that live in Alabama, hey, man, we're making $200,000 a year. You're like, yeah, it's about $32,000 here. I mean, right?
Yeah, no, the cost of living is not very expensive here in Tucson. I mean, our son and his wife just bought a house. It's 2,100 square feet on an acre for $250,000.
Wow, it's about comparable to North Carolina.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little better. Maybe even a little better. Well, it depends. This town is a trendy town, so it's like kind of like their version of Scottsdale, but not as expensive.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of their Scottsdale or their what's the neighboring the college city? It's more like that, Tempe.
Tempe.
Yeah. Yep. It's more like Tempe. You know, I have friends that still live there, so I've been in Arizona a lot. I've lived there for a month or so. Yeah, it's kind of like Tempe.
If you come back, you guys are welcome to come down to Tucson. It's beautiful during the winter.
Ride some horses, do some
ride
karate.
Horses. We have stables nearby, and there's a lot of, Sabino Canyon is a natural oasis. I mean, there's actually a lot of stuff in Tucson. People don't think there is, but there is.
I know some people live there and they talk very highly of it, but they would come work in Phoenix or like Scottsdale. Because that was where the big hubs to make big money. Like this guy was in selling cars, so they have car dealerships in Phoenix and Scottsdale that they're the size of airports. There's just such big sprawls of land, right? I don't know that my light turns on and my skin changes.
I know. I've noticed that it changes here and there.
It's a mood light. If I'm in a bad mood, it gets dark. No, if we're talking about online dating, it gets really dark. No, I'm kidding. But no, it's nice that you live there and you have a nice affordable base so you can keep your globe hopping current without breaking the bank. You're not trying to pay for mid-Manhattan, brownstone or something with a $20,000 mortgage. You're like, oh no, we can keep going to Europe and come home to our very affordable home and look in the piggy bank. Nobody even took a dime. That's kind of how it is, right?
Yeah, well, my father-in-law moved here 50 years ago and he started his own business. So we've been doing, they've been here for a really long time. So we do pretty good.
You're happy. No, you look happy.
Yeah.
But the truth is, I know I'm talking to you and it's a double wide. I'm kidding. Well, you want to know how bad it is here? We actually thought about living in one. It was more affordable than a damn one-bedroom apartment at one point.
Wow.
Yeah, you're like, double wide in California is some status, man. Because otherwise, low income is a phone booth. If you live in a phone booth, then you're broke. Now go on.
Yeah, well, because Tucson still has open spaces. So this is 17 acres. So I don't even know what something like that would cost in California.
Oh, millions upon millions.
Yeah.
Yeah, millions and millions and millions. Yeah, and that's what it is. But the maintenance and the upkeep, there is a cost. I mean, you have an acre. Now you have multiple acres. Now you got to do all the, depends. Like the desert, probably not as much, but other places you have to do all the weed killing and things that can grow on your land and stuff. There's a lot of upkeep in that too, right? It's like a huge.
Well, we live on three of the acres, and then the rest is just pasture.
Okay, so it's just easy. But your husband needs to drive a John Deere tractor to mow the lawn, right?
He actually has a tractor to mow the pasture.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, there's no lawnmowers. This is not your Villaggio home with your little lawnmower.
No.
You make it quick back and forth.
Nope. We have a lawnmower for the backyard because we do have some grass, but for the pasture, he actually has a tractor that does it.
Well, they have robot ones now. You can get those. You can get a little GPS tractor. Man, oh, hey.
Yeah, but he likes to get on the tractor and go out there and mow.
That's pretty awesome. So
Yeah,
have you met up with many Vicenza people since? I know you said you met Keiko and you met a few others. Like how many
Keiko
people
and
live there?
John, and then I saw Chris Summers when I went up there to see Keiko. I've seen Samantha and Sheila Henderson. Um, that's about it. Oh, I met up with Daniela Austin when I
Mm-hmm.
was in Vicenza. Um, that's about it. I mean, I'm friends with a lot of people on Facebook.
Yeah. What is that?